Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier, and this is Ship Updates. And, well, we are going to be talking about the Prowler. First off, I want to say thank you. There's a couple of Patreon supporters and a couple of viewers, in fact, who were eager to loan me their Prowler so that I could test it out and show it off to you guys. And so here is the video. Now, what did I think of the Prowler? Right off the bat, spit take, great ship, fantastic ship, handles beautifully. Had no real issues with it. Any issues that I honestly experienced while flying this ship, I think would come down to nitpicks that are not really necessary. I think it is. I mean, what you see is what you get, and I'm going to be kind of going through some of the broader kind of aspects of the ship, what I liked about it. But in general, there really isn't anything about this ship that I dislike, because it very much is what you see is what you get. You know, the ship doesn't, even though it is a stealth ship, it isn't hiding anything from you. It is very much what you think it's going to be. And in that, it is a good ship. It is a stealth drop ship. Now, originally, it was supposed to be a stealth boarding ship, but I think that pretty much that still remains a function of this vessel, though the stealth aspect is a little bit, I would say, unsure. It does seem to have a lower signature than maybe a comparable ship, but pushing the stealth button in the cockpit really didn't lower the IR or the EM in any appreciable way. So stealth is a system that, despite, you know, comments to the contrary a couple of years ago, is not implemented in the game in any realistic final version. So right now, it's kind of a really good looking dropship. Now, immediately you are going to kind of run into the fact that it isn't a cargo carrier. So right now what I'm doing is I am using it to basically smuggle some crates. And even though it isn't specifically built as a cargo carrier, it is indeed one of these ships that does have the capacity to take at least a few, you know, small crates that you would get from different locations. So if you space things out within the interior, you can carry enough that you can kind of do a whole daisy chain from Delamar down to Grimhex, down over to Orinth, and then down to the orphanage and Samson and Sons down by Area or Arcorp. And, you know, you can still get a full run in. So if that's the way that you are making money in 3.8, much like myself, then that continues to be viable with this ship. It's, you know, once again, it's not really incredibly stealthy, so that is something that is yet to be fully fleshed out. So don't expect yourself to be like able to get up to within a kilometer of someone else's ship and they're just gonna be like, oh my god, I don't see you. They will see you and you will see them. So it really, the stealth thing is something that right now you can't be critical of, because it is a system that is not fleshed out. But if you're just gonna, you know, run around smuggling stuff, then it is not the best ship for it. But that's more of like it's more of like an inconvenience rather than a disability, if you know what I mean. It's not like it just can't do it. It's just, it's maybe like one or two extra steps. It's just a little bit of a hassle, but not in any way that I think really diminishes the ship. The interior itself is very much designed as you would expect, you know, an infantry dropship to be designed. This is not a dropship that is meant to carry, you know, vehicles into combat. So there's no room for a dragonfly or a space bike in this. Like, that is, you know, none of that is going to fit inside of this ship. It is very much an on-foot thing. So that is one thing that you may have to keep in mind. That is like kind of like a difference with the Cutlass. The Cutlass, of course, is not supposed to be as stealthy, but it can indeed carry, you know, at least one space bike internally. So if you were in a situation where maybe you had to park your ship further and further out and then maybe proceed in on a smaller vehicle. And the Dragonfly is supposed to be a stealthy vehicle, though not purposefully built for stealth, but it is supposed to be one of the stealthier vehicles, or at least one of the stealthier space bikes. Using that as a mode of transportation to allow you to park your ship further away, you're not going to be able to have that same capability with the Prowler. The Prowler is meant to get much closer. So there could be a bit of a risk there, because sensors, stealth, all these things have yet to really kind of mature within Star Citizen. I think that's the best way to put it. And so what those limitations might, how those limitations might actually impact you is not entirely certain. Now, combat. Combat is an interesting thing, because while this is a military vessel, it's not something that's meant to directly engage in combat. I would say it's more something that's meant to facilitate military operations. And the surprising thing about it is, because of its weapons, it has a lot of like, oops, it's dead potential, which is not a bad thing. I was actually, kind of shocked by the firepower that the 2 size 4s and the 2 size 3s, which are gimbaled so you can auto gimbal them, have. They literally, against smaller vessels, they just splatter them. They absolutely splatter them. And it's not exactly limited to just smaller ships. In one of my earliest chances flying this ship, I was flying between Lorville and Area 18, and I had gotten interdicted by Nine Tails pirates just outside of Area 18. And I was still getting used to the ship. I was still kind of like, okay, how does all this work, trying to get a feel for the ship and all that. And here I was facing off against a pirate cutlass. Now, this is, of course, an NPC. This is not a player cutlass. So performance and results may vary in those two departments, but I was kind of, okay, gonna go in, gonna fight him because he's shooting at me. And I was, kind of getting myself into that mode because I was used to these guys lasting just a little bit longer. It 3-shot a pirate cutlass. Like, boom, boom. And just as I was getting the notice that my weapons overheated, and I kind of went like, uh-oh, my weapons are overheating, the cutlass just evaporated. And I just, oh. And so if you get the ship, or if you have the ship and you're flying around in combat against the smaller, weaker opponents, this thing kind of just erases them. So against weaker opponents, that is something that you're gonna have to get accustomed to, and it's not a bad thing to get accustomed to. But as I was flying combat missions, and by the way, the reason why I'm missing a nacelle is because Quantum dropped me right on top of an asteroid and I bounced off of it. But one of the things you're gonna have to get used to in combat is boom, gone. Drake Buccaneer, bye-bye. It does that, and that combined with the potential of the stealth systems of the ship mean that, yep, erased. It means that there could be some interesting combat potential with this ship, with the firepower and the ability to carry people and the ability to carry weapons, armor, equipment, though I think at a reduced capacity compared to other ships out there. There is a strong potential here. When the game, I think that the only thing that really holds this ship back are not its design, but rather the rest of the game hasn't kind of filled in the space around it to allow it to really kind of show its true value to the user. It's strong, it's good, but I think the game needs to kind of step up before it can really kind of show its full potential. Now, the value of the ship is something that we do have to discuss, because this is kind of, this is kind of one of those, yikes kind of moments is that the Warbond version I think is coming in at just under $400. I think it was at $385 or something like that, $365, somewhere in there. And another version for just over $400, I believe, which is far less than the original price of the ship, which was $450 with LTI. Keep in mind that from what I saw, it didn't look like you could, from when I was just tooling around with the website, it didn't look like you could use store credit to CCU another ship into it, but you can CCU a ship into it, and if that original ship has LTI, then this ship will have LTI. So technically you can get an LTI Prowler for less than what people paid for it originally. What was it, like 2 or so years ago, maybe even 3? Which is a little bit weird and a little bit like, eesh, like that could start a few arguments. Now, I mean, I've made my feelings known on the whole LTI nonsense, many times before, and I just think that any ship you buy should just put LTI on everything, rip the Band-Aid off, and let's stop the bullshit. And so that, I mean, this is just one of these ongoing problems, though. The pricing on this in the Warbond version and all that, that's kind of a head scratcher because you're actually selling it for less than you originally sold it for. And yeah, I mean, I could just kind of sit there and say, well, I don't have a dog in this fight, so but it is kind of a shitty thing. And so that was the one thing about this that kind of left me unimpressed. Yeah, and I don't know. We'll see how people react to it. But I was thinking, when I saw that was kind of like, yeesh, that's not going to work out. That might turn into a thing. But we'll have to wait and see. I mean, I could be totally wrong. It has happened once or twice before. Water. So overall, I've only tooled around with it for about 3-4 hours, but it has been a fairly impressive ship. And I think that in the future, once we do have a fully fleshed out stealth system and stuff like that, then I think that it is going to live up to its potential. And I think that it is going to be a solid ship, especially as in a stealth infantry dropship. It's going to have a niche application, and it's probably going to have a few other things that it can do fairly well, and maybe some unintended gameplay that people can manage to kind of squeak out of it that will make it quite an interesting ship in the future. But I think that right now it is on a very strong footing, and it is well positioned to be an absolutely solid ship. And did I mention the fact that the cockpit view in this ship is a dream come true? An absolute dream come true. And kudos on that design. Who would have ever thought that pilots should be able to see where they're going? Amazing.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.